Hello and welcome to the Groovie Bunch, the UK's #1 independent variety show. I'm your host, Thomas W. Kelly, and recently I've taken a strong stance against climate change by not wearing makeup to the gym anymore. You know, you got to draw the mascara line somewhere. Just above pointless, just below meaningful. And tonight we have got fantastic comedians tonight, 2 to be precise. And I want to let you know that I am a serious kind of guy. I know the difference between lavender and lilac. And I've got a favourite. And we're going to be interviewing them as well. I cannot wait to introduce them. It's lavender, by the way. And here on the Groovie Bunch, we pride ourselves on diversity, inclusion, and just having a great time. So if you're new to this show, this is the first episode of the new season. We give you a hearty welcome, so just sit back and relax for a new segment, which is the Venn diagram between the personal, the political, and the puerile. Yes, that's right. This is What the Cluck. Welcome to What the Cluck. You know, it's a fantastic time to be alive here in the UK because recently we've got a new episode of The Black Mirror. Wait, what do you call it when it's real? Oh, change of government. And across the pond, you know, Donald Trump, he got his ear trimmed in an attempted assassinani photo shoot. That's the word. And while the rest of America wonders if Kamala Harris isn't just one of the Clintons wearing a mask. Yes, but you see, I am recording this in July 2024, so if Trump has won the election, mein Führer, I apologise for my wrong thoughts. Please release me from the basement of Truth Social. So, for a few days now, I have tried to stop being an absolute tosser, and I've paid attention to our new Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, whose name sounds a bit like a fascist condiment. Yes, now, I've watched The Master at work and I've realised that it's much harder to make changes at a national level than it is to get laid on the first date. No hard feelings, Steve_long25. Nothing hard at all. But this does leave me with the question, how did the Labour Party get in for the first time since 1990 diddly-dee? Well, I'll show you how. You simply unbutton one's trousers and you vote tactically for Labour. Oh. Well, what I'm trying to say is that there's a lot of Liberal Democrats who didn't achieve orgasm, but, you know, they're happy in other ways. Lavender or lilac, as long as it's not blue. So literally no one asked me, what's the secret to your fitness? You know, someone said to me recently, Thomas, that gym membership is really working out for you. The gym manager said I have to stop talking to myself in the mirror. But I know what you're thinking. You know, this guy does more emotional labour than deadlifts. He's more wank than tank. And you'd be right. But what keeps me going back to the gym is watching 45-year-old men eye fuck themselves in the mirror as they curl 20 kilos. That dispels satisfaction to me. But the last thing I want to say about Keir Starmer is that he has done fantastic things for investing in the infrastructure of green energy, which is going to be great for the next generation of Brits. Unfortunately, not so great for us now. It's going to take longer to get this done than a drag queen trying to get a butch white male ready for the drag scene. Your outfit has no lavender, no sequins, and all the charm of dietary fibre. Now get your ass in that dress and give me your best shimmy, Donald. And I'm going to finish on this message to the Labour Party. I feel your pain. It's been about 20 years since I did any heavy lifting as well. We've both got a lump in our balls. For you, it's Russia, laying fat gas pipeline between the milky crevices of your budget. And for me, it's an actual lump. And when I press the skin against it, it looks a bit like Donald Trump's face, shouting, "Build that wall!" But my doctor assures me that the resemblance is entirely coincidental. And I can stop sending pictures. Well, that does it for this episode's edition of What the Cluck. Let's introduce our first guest. It's my pleasure to introduce you to a comedian who is not only a communications guru and a mother, but also has a wit sharper than your nana's kitchen knife. Let's introduce RSK.
So good to be here. It's great, and I know what's on your mind. Is she Canadian or American? Okay, I'm Canadian, and I've been in the UK over a decade now, and over this time, many people have asked me, "You're from such a beautiful country. What are you doing in this godforsaken shithole?" And I get it. Lots of people want to move to Canada. We do fantastic marketing. One actually milestone this year is that, okay, it's a little secret, I turned 40 years old. Yeah, I know. It's been interesting because as I've gotten older, one thing I didn't expect is that I'd be going to funerals of people I'm not related to, which means I know no one there. Okay, because like at a wedding, you break the ice by asking, "Oh, who are you with, the bride or groom?" Bar mitzvah. "Oh, how'd you know the family?" Then at a funeral, it's weird because you're at the pub, you're at the reception, and I just end up saying, they were always a bit stiff. That's great. But I'm also actually a happily married mother of two beautiful, wonderful parasites. Yes. And if you didn't laugh at that, you have not seen the nursery bill. It's horrific. They're 1 and 3, so we're in a very expensive era. So expensive. My son, he's 3. He's a 3-year-old. I'm sure he's on drugs. Like, okay, they're insane. Like little kids. Like he's either on LSD, ecstasy, hits of ketamine, but he doesn't share. It's really hard. And my daughter, she says "oh buck" a lot because she can't pronounce F's. Yeah, I'm an amazing parent. I am. It's great. But I do love my kids. I do, though. They give me so many reasons to leave. No, I do love them. I do. They're IVF experiments. Yeah, and so for those of you who don't know what IVF is, it's when you can't get pregnant naturally, so you spend thousands of pounds to get injected with drugs. They extract your eggs, mix them with sperm, put an embryo back up in you, just for the chance of being a slave. So it's so great. It's so great. But because of this, 78 medical professionals have examined my vagina. How else do you think I paid for treatment? It is hard because I always want to be a mom, and I didn't think I have to jump through so many hoops. So many. And because, I did everything right. Okay? I didn't sleep around. I got married. I'm Kate Middleton, but open to pegging. Yes. No, but fortunately, we were successful eventually, and because we have lots of friends who've struggled even harder than us, and it's a mind fuck, infertility. It's hard. All power to anyone out there who's going through it. There is an end to it. It does happen. But now that we have our kidlets, we have spare embryos. So when you've gone through all this process, you put them into cryogenic storage, and you get a bill every year. And it comes in the post, and it asks you, do you want to pay for another year of storage, or do you want to discard them? Yeah, it's an awful word. It's probably why I keep paying the bill every year. Because a lot of money, therapy, and alcoholism went into creating these snowflakes. It's a difficult choice because, okay, I'm stuck with the what ifs, okay? What if one's the next Picasso? The next Marie Curie? The next Jimmy Savile? You can't test for nonsense. I've looked into it. Test not available. It is hard, but okay, so as the hubby and I are discussing a third kid, whether or not we can afford it or whether we want to take a chance on adding chaos, endearing chaos to our lives, the one thing we can agree on, though, is if it wasn't for reproductive technology, we'd have sex. That's great. But actually, yeah, because kids are expensive, right? As I told you, we're paying for nursery. There's the accessories. There's the alcohol you need to get through this. And so when I see a couple who are really chill with 3 young children out and about, I know they're minted. I have a little story for you. So the other day when this was a year ago, but it feels like yesterday. I took my daughter and her nappy bag and the will to survive. We went to a coffee shop, sat down, and as I'm having my cappuccino, I hear "Ooh, what a cute baby!" That was a Northern Irish accent, by the way. And I turn, and it's the actress who plays Erin from Dairy Girls. And she was lovely. Like, she's just as charming on screen as in person. She was amazing. And all I could think was and say actually out loud was, "Oh, you're from that show." Yeah, I deserve the look that she gave me. It was, and when you meet a famous person, you really want them to like you. It's worse than a first crush. It's worse than meeting a guy at a bar. Like, you really want these people who you're never going to see again to think you're a good person, right? Make a good impression. So I was like, what can I offer her? And I'm like, "Ooh, do you want to hold my baby?" And before I could finish my sentence, she had scooped her up. And guys, I was free. I sipped my coffee in peace. I ordered a croissant. And then I thought, this is what ketamine must feel like. But then, okay, because reality hits and you have appointments to go to, right? Like, if you're a mom out, you're not there for your own pleasure. You have a schedule. So I turned to her. I'm like, "Thank you so much for holding my baby. I'll take her now." Silence. "No, really, thank you for holding my baby. I'll take her. I hope you're having a good day." She's blanking me. She's staring at my baby. And the thing is, I've been in the UK long enough to know that a failure to respond, that's a British no. So now I follow my baby on Instagram. And because of this, I have finished breastfeeding. Woo! If you cheered, yeah, you understand. Yeah, no, it's not like the ads. It's not like the films. It looks like an intimate moment with your child. No, cannibalized daily. And to make it worse, my daughter, really hearty appetite, which is great and healthy, but she'd sneer and snarl for breast, right? Latch onto my nipple, and then she'd make this look of pure disgust. Like Gollum from Lord of the Rings being a food critic. No appreciation for this Canadian vintage. None. Like, it was... But then, okay, like every baby, this happens to every baby, I've seen it, like their eyes start rolling back in their sockets, and it looks like they're chasing the dragon. So mothers are dealers, just so you know, yes. Well, my husband, he is the most disappointed that breastfeeding's over, because he'll no longer get showered with breast milk during foreplay. It's, yeah. Hey, where else do you think kinks come from? No, but actually, being a mom of a boy, it has helped me understand men better in ways I never thought I could. Like, I thought I did, but now I get why guys are so sad, why they love their penises so much. I get it, because I see it daily. And also, like, I thought I'd be dealing with erections adjacent. My son would hit puberty. I'd find a crunchy sock. We'd have a talk about cleanliness, hygiene, and how I don't want to hear anything. That would be clear. But no, you're changing your infant son's nappy after he's born, and it's staring right back at you. Yeah, staring. This, right, yeah, no one talks about it. I was so in shock. Like, I have to clean his erection? What? So weird. But you get past it, right? Okay, you get past it. But his adoration and obsession with his penis continues. Like, at one point, his favorite position for his penis was in the waistband of his trousers. Weeing everywhere. So I'd be on tip surveillance. Professional headhunter. Constantly cock blocking him. Like, it was... But the thing is, like, as I said, he's obsessed with his penis, and he thinks everyone has one. But I get it. Like, if I had a favorite thing, if I had a penis, I'd probably love it too, right? Like he wants everyone to have the same experience. So I was in the bath last week, and he burst through the door. He's like, "Mommy, penis gone." And I said, "Well, yeah, Jeffrey Dahmer took it." So see. No, actually, another thing, like, I am a cat mom, and every cat person out there, you know that dog people have stable individuals in their household. Cats are really psychotic. So my cat, Captain Wentworth, yes, that's his name. I'm great at naming my animals. He brings us mutilated rodents all the time, like on the doorstep, mini mass grave. And I was thinking he was probably Jack the Ripper in his past life. But that would mean the mice were whores. Okay, so some of you guys outside of Britain might know that we have a lot of rail strikes happening. A lot of people want pay rises, increases. So we've had to take the bus more often. And I know that some places, buses, we have like these digital signs that say the bus is coming. So when you have to take the bus because you can't take the train or the underground, you're waiting, and the bus says 5 minutes, 10 minutes. And then it says it's gone by, and I'm like, no, the fuck it is not. So for any Terminator fans out there, I see this as proof that Skynet actually exists already. Yeah, because AI learns from data. Data is corrupted by humans. And there's nothing more human than being an asshole. It's that. With all that, I would like to leave you all with my one IVF regret. So, the challenge is that while I wanted my kids, I will never have the pleasure of telling them they're accidents. Thanks for laughing with RSK.
You were telling me offset there that your young son is looking at the iPad. What was that again? He thought he was going to see you.
So I told him I was going to be Mommy was going to be on TV, and he'd see the episode eventually. He's like, "Yes, and you'll see me." And I was like, "Okay." Mm-hmm. And he said he thinks that whatever's on TV sees him. Mm-hmm. So yeah,
that is adorable. You know, I've never been a parent myself, but like the whole thing of having that kind of childlike engagement with imagination and world building, I think is a fascinating thing to witness. What's it been like for you as someone who's kind of like writing about it at the same time, but also like, you know, connecting with that child?
It helps me have an outlet as a mom, and helps my other mom friends. Like the joke about bursting through the door when I'm in the bath, that actually came from a friend. So friends give me stories that they're going through, and they enjoy it. And also the nursery staff at his nursery love that I do a set about his penis.
These are the unspoken awkward truths.
Yes, it's, well, because there's not many, well, there's more parent comics or parent comics doing stuff about their kids. But a lot of parents don't have that same outlet. Like, people talk about Tinder a lot. People talk about the younger life. But the life with children is
well, first
different.
Of all, parents ain't got time for that.
That's true.
You're like, scroll. The baby needs feeding.
Yes, they always need food. Always, yes.
Absolutely. And outside of your admirable work raising that young child, you're also like a communications expert.
Yes.
Yeah, and from what I understand, I watched an interview, a discussion you're having online, and you were saying you started off doing comedy to sort of like get better at helping people to communicate.
Yes, so in corporate settings, it's becoming more popular for leaders and teams to use humor to build rapport, to have relation. And so I was like, because I already was a Toastmaster, I was a public speaking cook and such. So I'd always had this curiosity about comedy, and I thought, well, it's a business expense. Why not do a course? And yeah, enjoyed it. And then I started gigging, and now I can't stop.
Yes. Yeah. So you kind of got the bug.
Yeah.
Was there a certain moment that it changed for you from like an exercise in skill making into like, this is art, I like this?
For me, the art, so because the difference between presentation skills and comedy is you're making something very planned seem casual.
Yeah.
Whereas when I've coached people in their presentation skills and media training, it's about being very polished, but there's power in not being polished and seeing that side of it. And also, I see an audience as a petri dish, like seeing how they react to stimuli and see how just even the twist of a joke, a tone. Like I used to do the joke about, you're from such a beautiful country. What are you doing in this godforsaken shithole? And I used to do it very angry. And then when it became really lovely and bouncy and ridiculous, people laughed more. So it's like even just changing same words, different delivery. And I don't know if I would say it's a changing point. It just became my outlet to go experiment.
Was there stuff that you took over from the communications world into comedy?
So in terms of my audience assessments, looking at what the commonalities are, what they're interested in, why they're there, why they're out.
Oh, damn, that's deep.
Yeah.
I like that.
But also then me as the artist sometimes doesn't give a shit what they want.
Okay.
And I'm like, my joke's funny. But they're fucking drunk.
According to this audience data, you have to laugh. Yeah.
Well, so interestingly, remember that gig where you got the Beard and the Queen were at that ping pong in that workers bar in London Bridge?
I do.
So
that was a rough gig.
That was my number 6. And I would say that was one of my ones, like all my bad. It was a rough gig. Like, I wouldn't say it's a bad gig. It was a rough one.
Yeah.
I record all my gigs, and when I went back and listened to it, even though, the audio was awful, and so for the audience, so you know what we're talking about, kind of like an in-joke, is this gig was in a pub with working class people who did not realize that they were going to be inundated with drag queens and comics after the football.
They wanted to relax after work and enjoy a pint.
There was not a proper stage.
And then, like, too many performers descended.
It was over 20 performers. It went on for 3 hours. I had friends who came who were already drunk, and they went and talked to the MC and asked, why isn't Rebecca on? So they got upset, and then she thought I was upset. There was a whole bunch of drama. Anyways, where we're getting with this is I recorded the set, I listened back, and when I started talking about IVF and infertility, the talking went down. So these very blue-collar, we're there for the football men were actually interested in fertility. And I found that was quite interesting in terms of a data point of, that's one of the reasons I always record my sets, because I always, what I think's happening, and then I go back, I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't expect that. That's what triggered a smile, a laugh, or people were listening. And that was interesting.
Yeah, observing the way that the audience reacts. Also to like the topic and the subtonality. I mean, there's probably some guys there who you were educating about AVF.
Yeah.
Yeah, not only making them laugh about the Canadian vintage.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
which I like that joke, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, like you just take power in that way. And like, there's definitely room for some in-your-face tit jokes.
So yeah, I try to do sexual jokes without it being too. So not to make them sexual, but like turn sexuality on its head.
Okay.
So it's like I'm not doing a breast joke, but I'm making a joke about my chest.
Would this be like a 69, but you're on the mobile?
Yeah, possibly. Yeah. Well, multitasking.
Exactly. You know what? I feel like this is a great time for a new segment that we're testing out.
I'm a guinea pig. Save me. It's fine.
She is a guinea pig. This is called the Goblet of Fire. How will you kill your neighbor with kindness?
Put poison in the muffins.
Oh. So, when you laugh too much,
I'm not planning
because it's something that you'd really do, like, or maybe you have done.
No, us and our neighbors do not get along. We do not make eye contact.
You're not the only one discontent in suburbia. I relate. Yeah, relate. So, I want you to name 3 topics which are the least suitable for rap music.
Breastfeeding.
Oh,
Lisa, okay. Sorry, I know you're supposed to be quick, and now I'm overthinking it. So I said breastfeeding, waiting at a bus stop, waiting in a queue at Starbucks for your coffee.
and the third question is, so complete this sentence.
Yep.
The other day, I met someone from Tinder. After meeting them, I realized that they're actually 7 cats in a trench coat. So, I...
Was glad I didn't kiss them.
That's right. And facial contact with pussy does cause allergies. Would you like one more serious question?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Let's switch that background back. Thanks for playing the Goblet of Fire.
Oh, it's fine.
So, what... I'm curious, like... What sort of advice would you give to new comedians just starting out who are trying to find their way in the circuit and wondering, you know, what is my identity? Like, can I navigate this place? Do I have the confidence? Where would you recommend them to start off?
The more stage time you do, the better. Every bad gig, you learn more than you would a good gig. You appreciate the good gigs, but you learn from the bad gigs. And you learn about yourself. And as much as you try not to compare yourself to everyone, because everyone's on their own pace. Like, it took me 18 months to find my look. And I know that because I have a spreadsheet. And I know when it...
Respect for the game.
You saw my post on Instagram with... Yeah, with all my data. Yeah, I was like, I have the data. Why not? Like, it's I didn't ever even peaked in high school. I doubt I'm going to peak on the comedy circuit at this point. It's you get out of it what you put in. If you can do 3 and 4 gigs, stints, and push yourself, it's a muscle. You will get better. The more you do it, the more you're able to navigate and figure out what you want out of it. And make sure you're enjoying it. Don't push yourself to do it if you're not enjoying it. You don't need to do 3-hour bringer nights. There are other options, and you know which ones I'm talking about. You don't need to do them. Find the gigs that are reasonably length.
Yeah, respect yourself. Rebecca,
Yes.
This has been a fascinating chat with you. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Well, I'm really pleased to introduce this next chap who navigates the world with a blind eye and a mischievous grin. You know, he's going to prove to us that laughter truly is the best medicine. Let's give it up for Stephen Portlock.
We had a bit of a precarious journey here today, actually. I did. Because, you see, I haven't always been blind, you see. I lost my sight in my 30s, and so perhaps don't have the whiz-bang mobility skills of some blind people who've been blind most of our lives. Okay, maybe whiz-bang's perhaps not quite the right term for blind people who've got good mobility skills. I think whiz-bang perhaps more accurately describes what I was like in the past when I was crashing into everything and so on. But my late wife, she was very supportive. She was very supportive. And what she taught me, see, was to be patient, tactile, touch everything, feel everything, run your hands over all of the surfaces, observe the sensations that arise on the body. Don't just plunge straight in. Yes, that was a smutty joke, and I do hope you don't object, because I have to say it gets a lot ruder before this is over. But, oh, thank you, madam. Yeah, no, but you see, I had an interesting trip here today. I did on the way here, because I had to be led here to this building, and this very nice young lady, she was leading me on the way here. Just before we parted company at the door, she turned and she looked at me, And she said, I have beautiful eyes. I mean, me, not her, me. I have beautiful eyes. Really? Would she like a swap? Really are, I admit, a bit of a specialist package. A limited edition, you might say. Very limited, in fact. The thing is, though, I like my eyes. I really do. Okay, they're mainly decorative and are pretty vacuous and don't do very much. But the same could be said of Kim Kardashian. This might be the point when I really need to ask the question I always dread asking at this point, but I guess this may be a good chance to ask that question. So, are there any blind people here today? Don't raise your hand, that's not going to work. No, look, obviously I have nothing against blind people. I'm blind myself. I have blind friends, and until recently I was working for a sight loss charity. No, it's just, you see, there are some blind people who are brilliantly supportive of my comedy, and for them I can't thank them enough. But there are others who are puzzled by my comedy. I think the problem is, you see, as well as being blind, I also have OCD. Yes, I'm blind and mad. I mean, I wish there was a shorthand for that, but Blad just makes me sound like a Michael Jackson fan of a list. But OCD does make a difference, you know, it does a difference. I mean, people say you are a glass half full or a glass half empty person. I say it's a glass. Don't give me a glass. And the thing is, you see, I have, as I said earlier, I haven't always been blind. I lost my sight in my 30s. And I've had OCD a lot longer than that. I have. And you might think that the blindness would just nuke the OCD into Kingdom Come, but it doesn't work like that. No, it just changes its nature. So to give an example of this, you see, I'm a little bit superstitious about numbers. And in the past, when I was still sighted, if I was in London, where I live, if I was travelling, say, from Victoria to Euston and did it once, I need to do it a second time. I need to do it a third time for peace of mind. Well, yeah, and I can't do that these days. Not when I need sighted assistance to go back down onto the underground. I mean, the staff might allow me to get away for a bit, but after a point, they'd smell a rat. They'd want to know why I need to go back down onto the underground again. Okay, why do I need to go back down onto the underground? Deep breath. The structure, the quasi-mystical existential continuum that holds all temporary entities, forms and structure, the quasi-mystical existential within this universe, within the galaxy, within the multiversal structure, the earth, air, fire, water, spirit, the planets and revolution around the sun, the structural continuum that holds all temporality, forms, balance and functions in continuous harmonic structure and balance and continuum. It's out! Not by much, mainly by 15 degrees, but that structural quasi-mystical existential continuum that holds all temporality, forms and structures in equanimous balance is out! Thank you. Yes, and in order to rectify that quasi-mystical existential continuum imbalance, I need to go back down onto the underground. They're not going to understand that. They're going to think I'm with Extinction Rebellion. No, I mean, bad habits like that fell by the wayside, you know. But where nature abhors a vacuum, and where one bad habit falls away, something else comes to fill it, a new source of anxiety comes to replace it. And so to give an example of this, a few years ago, you know, I was getting into bed one day and putting on my pyjamas. And putting on my pyjamas, I accidentally touched my penis. And you might think, well, what of it? But OCD meant that a moment later I was climbing out of bed and heading to the bathroom. Yes, and blindness meant that I wasn't heading to the bathroom. No, I got disorientated, wandered into the living room and touched this fella, a minion. I won it in 2019 and it's a keeper. I can't hand it to a charity shop now. I'd be terrified in case a baby takes it and sticks it in its mouth. And I can't explain to the woman's shop that I touched it after touching my penis. she's going to think I'm being coy, euphemistic, that it is something absolutely disgusting with it. Despicable me. Thank you. Yes, and I've had CBT for that sort of thing, for the anxiety, obviously. Has anybody here had CBT? Anyone here had CBT? No, you've got to be careful about this sort of thing, because, when I say cognitive CBT, I mean cognitive behavioural therapy. Yes, because in gay circles, that's not what CBT is. No, in gay circles, CBT is cock-ball torture. Yeah, well, yes. And, it's not the only time there's ever been a mismatch, between gay politics and the politics of blindness or politics of disability. Sometimes it's pretty harmless. Does anybody here know what LGBT stands for in Braille? Anyone? Anyone know? No. Like, go, between. That's what LGBT is in Braille. Like, go, between. Like, go between what? Like, go between two thighs? Like, go between two buttocks? Like, go between two priests? No, and there are other times when the problems are more serious. Does anybody here know about rainbow crossings? Well, before that, we'll one thing, because there are bigger problems that I face as a blind person than rainbow crossings. Immediate one that springs to mind is electric cars. They're a problem. No, they're terrifying because they're so quiet. Thank God they haven't been more successful. I think it's a problem of bad marketing, you see. The target audience from eco-warriors who just want to quietly go about their business without disturbing other people. And that's quite a niche market. But no, the thing about rainbow crossings, you see, is guide dogs don't recognise them. Police horses don't recognise them. And they're triggering to people with certain neurological conditions. And to be clear, are there any LGBT people here today? Anyone here LGBT? Oh yeah. Oh, well, salute you. Well, I salute you. Welcomes. To be clear, I support the LGBT community. I consider madam non-binary. I absolutely support the LGBT community. Let me tell you, as a journalist, because my background is actually journalistic, I've interviewed Peter Tatchell on no less than 3 occasions, as well as Alan Bennett and Anne Widdecombe, whom I reason must be somewhere on the rainbow spectrum, even if I couldn't work out where. Of course, since then we found out, and the answer is she belongs in a dungeon. Homophobic old bat. But no, the thing about, you see, guide dogs, as I said, rainbow crossings are dangerous, but can we agree, ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest about this, can we agree that rainbow crossings are a really dumb idea? No, they really are. Who was a jackass who thought it was a clever thing to do to create a physical symbol representing the entire LGBT community and then to encourage people to trample all over it? And it's just a terrible precedent. I'm just dreading the day when some bloody sociology student has a brainwave and decides to create a Black Lives Matter crossing. But no, some of my comedy is a bit rude, and I get a little embarrassed at times by it. I'm actually a nice Christian boy. I'm a churchgoer, believe it or not. Admittedly, my theology is probably more mystical. I've been on 10-day silent meditation retreats. People say, my God, that's amazing. 10 days not being spoken to. They're not from London. I've been doing comedy for a few years, and there was one subject I really hadn't expected to talk about. And it probably would have remained that way until about maybe a year ago, when I was doing my set. I'd just done my 5 minutes, and a little bit later on, another guy came on, a gay guy. And 3.5 minutes into his set, he suddenly turned and he addressed me personally. And he said he'd been standing next to me at the urinal earlier, and a penis that large is wasted on a blind man. I was really quite embarrassed by that. And I was tempted to deny it. How dare you, sir? I'll have you know my penis is medium going on small. But, well, where that claim's concerned, well, we both know it's a whopper. but no, I mean, I was bothered by what he said. I mean, I chatted to him afterwards, and I thanked him for the tip-off, by which I don't mean circumcision, but pointed out that I actually hadn't been planning on using it on a blind man. But I did have to correct his claim that a large penis is wasted on a blind man. A large penis is wasted on obsessive compulsive. It really is, you know. I mean, I remember me and my late wife, you know, in the bedroom together, you know, having a little intimate moment together, you know. I was going up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and eventually got too much for her, and she yelled out, "Stephen, you checked the front door 4 times!" Not again. No, but I've had psychotherapy, as I said, and I mean, this woman, she started. I talked about being cripplingly shy of women when I was young, and perhaps wishing I was a bit more masculine. She zoned in on this and started wondering whether or not I might be bisexual. Oh, I don't think so. I've known gay guys, and most of them were likeable enough, but didn't want to have sex with them. But she no. She said, "Suck it and see." And at that point, I said, "No, madam, no, madam." To reiterate, madam, I've known a number of gay guys socially, and some of them blind. I've known a number of women, blind women, and I can assure you, madam, that no, madam, fellatio does not restore your eyesight.
I like how you've got that kind of air of like very polite Britishness.
That's right.
And then you'll tell us about touching your minion.
It's not a problem. It's not touching a minion. Minions are fine. It's perfectly okay to touch a minion. Just don't do it after touching a willy.
Yes, that's a
Just
I
word
agree.
for the wine. It's okay to touch a minion.
Okay. I think that's in one of those unwritten books, you know, about what you shouldn't donate to charities. Then again, I give drag costumes, you know, to charity every now and then, and I'm like, don't think about it. They're like, I give them the bag, and if I pause too long in the charity store, they start rummaging through it, and they're like, "There's a lot of sequins in this." Lavender leggings. What's going on? But you know, Stephen, I was reading a little bit about you, and I love that you do journalistic work as well.
Yes.
And I was really curious because as a writer who does for press and also a writer who does for stage, do you find that there's an overlap in the kind of mindset that you use?
Well, I mean, I don't. Basically, what happens is, a little bit of context to this. I graduated around the millennium. I lost most of my sight in 2005, and so
Okay.
I've done dribs and drabs. I mean, it's unfortunately because of that. I freelance, but in a way, I don't get a lot of stuff done. I guess it depends on the publication. I mean, for example, if I wrote a piece for the Erotic Review, which definitely had humour in it.
Uh-huh.
That was a piece about vintage 1920s vintage pornography. That was about, good God, that was 20 years ago or something like that. So something like that obviously has humour in it. Mm. On the other hand, a few years ago I wrote a piece for the Times about a multimedia sound installation called Blindness. Mm. And there wasn't humour. Funnily enough, I wrote a review of Douglas Murray's book for the Ep1 project, and that was quite quirky as a review, but then the book is in some ways, whatever one feels about Douglas Murray as a person, it is quite a quirky book. Whatever you're feeling with his politics, he is a man of a sense of humour, so I reflected that in my review as well. Yeah.
Okay. Because, like, for example, like I write poetry, and but I'm quite a dark poet. I like going to the pith of like human suffering and like how you get out of that place.
Good heavens.
But then as a comedian, I can't help but like be a bit of a jolly wally, dilly dolly. I don't know where I'm going with this, but just like kind of taking the piss a bit and enjoying life. Do you feel like there's a point where you depart from being a journalist and start being a comedian?
Well, There's a way in which it's a connection because I mean, as I said, I don't know if there's one or never. But let me put it this way, because I'm not sure if this is quite the answer to your question. I'm a little confused. I talk, for example, about rainbow crossings. Well, that's actually God's honest true story. I mean, I remember because I read that they were dangerous to disabled persons and thought, right, that's it. I'm going to have to make a set about that to make people aware of it. I did some quite dark. I didn't get to talk about it today because you need to be in quite a dark place to do that. I haven't talked about it. I think, in other words, comedy can sometimes be a way of making people aware of certain subjects, if you see what I mean. Again, 100%. I mean, the electric cars, again, that's another case in point, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Comedy is the place, to demolish people's, presuppositions, their assumptions about who you are, your identity. Do you find that people have a lot of assumptions about what it means to be blind?
They do. But also, I suppose, in a way, the trouble is, you see, this is what I said. I've had OCD a lot longer. And the thing is that there's a danger of some people say, yeah, I'm sure. And it's almost like same old, just sidetracking the OCD. And I can understand that to an extent, because people look at this guy and think, blind guy. They're not going to look at the guy and think, no one's going to look at me standing there and think, this guy, OCD, guy with OCD. But in fact, it is pretty hard work. I make light of it, but in real life, it's hard work. I've had friends who kind of say, I'm just not that much of it's not that much of a burden, the OCD. Then they spend a couple of days with me and change their mind. Think, yep, you've got OCD big time. And so in a way, part of the reason I talk so much about OCD is because of the fact that it was because people probably assume, just drown it out mentally in noticing the blindness, and in a way, the stuff about psychotherapy. I mean, I make a few silly jokes about suck it and see, but that was based on a real experience. When I did a psychotherapy, and some of the treatment was really very unhelpful to someone who's neurodivergent, and I genuinely can't remember whether or not she was aware that I had OCD or not. So maybe if she wasn't. To deal with that stuff more seriously would take into a much darker place as a comedy and set. And you couldn't get out of that. You see what I mean?
Yes.
So you got to keep it on the surface level of just silly jokes about that. Yeah, you still need to be 1, 2, 3 joke. If you see what I mean? Yeah.
It's a tough balance, isn't it?
Yeah.
Between the reality of the day-to-day experience and about still doing it justice.
Yeah, most of my set is true. And let me think. The stuff about my beautiful blind eyes, God's honest true. I think of 5 different women over the years who've commented on that I've got beautiful eyes. Let me think. A minion think, real story, true story. Big penis, true story. Sorry to embarrass, but it's true story. I think most of that was true. Obviously, the story about me going up and down to my wife and checking the front, that's a bit of whimsy. That's not true. That's exaggeration. I don't think it's true.
But it's a well-constructed joke, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. But a lot of it is true. You'd be surprised how much of it is true. Yeah.
Well, I really admire that you talk about your challenges so openly in your set, for lots of reasons. I mean, partly because, I think there are other people out there who are, I would say, less gregarious and maybe don't have this same level of confidence that you do to go out on stage and identify with you very strongly, even if they're not blind or have your specific neurodivergence. I think that they take a credit and a happiness from watching you.
I'm glad I hope it makes them happy. I hope it does make them laugh. Obviously, because I hope it makes them think, because in a sense, as you said, there is a danger of thinking you look at there's all sorts of different blind comedians. There's people like Chris McCausland and David Eagle. He's another one. They're very good, but my stuff is a bit stranger. And that's not a criticism. It's just a place for the place for all of them. If you see what I mean, yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting you say about gregarious, actually, because most people with OCD are introverts, and in fact, in day-to-day situations, I'm fine. I enjoy this conversation. I mean that. I'm enjoying this conversation. But it is true that people with OCD tend to be a little bit anxious about interaction. You think, oh gosh, am I going to say something wrong? People by OCD by nature tend to be a little bit introverts, and I suspect I probably would fall into that category in my day-to-day life. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. As well, but I think that's the flip side of being a performer.
I think you've got it. I think you're right there.
I think it's a big journey for not just artists, but all kinds of professionals. Whether they're run workshops as a consultant, but then in their personal life, I'm just really speaking about myself. Really find it difficult to connect with people on a personal level.
Oh, no,
I think there's such a journey, isn't there?
There's thousands of people. I mean, there's famous stories of people who just kind of, in their private lives, are introverts, and in a moment they'll say just boom.
Talking about boom, would you like to switch this up and we'll get some goblet of fire action?
Oh, okay, let's fire away.
So let's do some quick fire questions. Complete this sentence. If politicians kept their promises, I'd...
turn into a phoenix. I don't know what I said. This is a weird statement. I think
you're right. Yeah, I mean, like Jesus would rise from the grave.
Yeah, I think that's the sort of idea. Isn't it? Yeah.
Cake, death, or Keir Starmer?
Keir Starmer, death.
Oh!
I do a joke about that,
Do you?
No, because I can't. I'm half French, and so I've never been able to pronounce. If you notice, if I say th, it just sounds like f, like in deaf, and so the word deaf, just sounds like. The only way I can rectify that is to exaggerate it. Deaf, and then I'll really do something.
Ah, okay. Well, let's change this set. I wanted to ask you something on a more touching note, though, Stephen. Thinking about all the people out there who want to go into, say, public speaking, entertainment, and who do have disabilities, be it neurological or physical, what sort of advice would you give to those early career people who are not sure where to take the first step?
Are you talking about specifically about in comedy or in what world?
I think in comedy, yeah.
Well, comedy is a pretty supportive environment. Yeah, I mean, people tend to people on the outside tend to assume the opposite. They think no, but it's a pretty supportive environment. I think so. I think if somebody has a physical disability, then I think I just say, I suppose superficially, I just say just don't be put off, because people tend to assume that sometimes people tend to assume the opposite. There's a really brutal audience. They're not. My experience is most people want to go to a show and want to have fun, if you see what I mean.
Absolutely.
And even if their show the opening set goes a bit meh, they're not going to get crucified for it, if you put it that way. Yeah. So the question, but also, it's about the stamina and sticking it out, if you see what I mean. Like anyone else, I think it's about finding your voice. I mean, comedy's a really unusual one because, of course, do you know about Laugh Able?
I don't. That's a great name.
Laugh Able. It's run by Mark Nicholas, and it's a comedy night for comedians with disabilities. And he said, and he has a joke because he said, no, he opened it up to people with mental difficulties, which basically means 99% of the people on the comedy. So, which is what I say. I mean, obviously there are differences if you have a physical disability. I don't feel qualified to talk about other people. I mean, for me, give a long answer, Ryan. The main barrier I face is that some websites are more accessible than others in terms of booking gigs. But that's, But it would be true to say that life would be easier if they had a fallback option, say email, not necessarily phone, but email. If I could just email X and such and say, "Got any spots?"
Yeah. You're great on email.
Oh, well, thank you.
Makes a lot of sense. Stephen, I want to say thank you so much for taking the time to come down to the studio today.
Really lovely.
It's been fascinating chatting with you.
Thank you, I really appreciate it.
And I love your comedy.
Oh, thank you. It's awfully kind of you. I mean that. I really do mean it. Well, I enjoyed your set, by the way, and I enjoyed your show. It's been a wonderful show. Thank you.
Thank you. So for all of us here at Groovie Bunch, thank you so much for joining us on this lovely little episode and the opening to the new season. Say goodbye to RSK. And of course, Stephen Portlock. I've been your host, Thomas W. Kelly, and you have been cluckin' fabulous.